My phone buzzes against the polished oak dining table in my parents' Columbus home. I glance down, not recognizing the number. "Leave right now. Don't say anything to your parents." The text glows on my screen like a warning light. My fingers hover, suddenly clumsy. I look up at the perfect family tableau: Dad checking his watch, Mom arranging napkins, my sister Amanda scrolling through her phone. Normal, except for the deep purple liquid in the glass placed directly in front of me. "Aren't you going to drink your juice, dear?" Mom's voice floats across the table. "I made it special for you. Grape, your childhood favorite." My hand trembles as I reach for my water instead. The text is from Ethan, Amanda's boyfriend. I've only met him 3 times, barely know him. Why would he? "Something wrong with your phone, honey?" Dad's eyes flick to my screen before I can turn it over. "No, just work." The lie feels thick in my throat. I stare at the grape juice, stomach nodding as Mom watches the untouched glass with unusual intensity. 3 months ago, Ethan cornered me after Sunday dinner. "Amanda's in trouble," he'd said, voice low. "She lost $14,000 in crypto and wants you to cover it." I'd laughed. "She hasn't asked me for anything." "She will. She's waiting for the right moment." 2 days later, Amanda called crying about a small investment problem. I refused the loan. She didn't speak to me for weeks. I look at the juice again. Dad clears his throat. "I was talking to my friend Roger yesterday. He's a financial advisor. Smart guy. Said he'd be happy to help manage your money. No charge, since you're family." The words take on sinister meaning now. I've always viewed our family through a lens of assumed good intentions. But Ethan sees us from the outside, without the rose-colored filter of shared history. I need to use the bathroom. I stand, deliberately leaving my phone face down on the table. Can it wait? The roast will get cold. Mom's smile doesn't reach her eyes. "Just a minute." I walk away, feeling their gazes between my shoulder blades. When I return, another text waits. "They want your fingerprint to unlock banking apps. I'm parked down the street if you need to leave." My chest tightens. This can't be happening. These are my parents, the people who raised me, who taught me to ride a bike and helped me with math homework. They can't be planning to. "You look pale." Amanda rolls her eyes. "Always the drama queen." "I'm not feeling well." I touch my stomach. "Maybe I should go home." "Just finish your dinner first, honey." Dad stands, moving to the chair beside me. Too close. "You'll feel better after you eat." I'm trapped between lifelong loyalty and horrifying realization. Every family dinner where they asked about my promotion, every casual question about my savings, the times my checkbook went missing, only to reappear in obvious places. $87,000 sits in my accounts. Years of software engineering work while they treated me like their personal bank. I've given them money for car repairs, property taxes, Amanda's tuition. Where did it all go? I glance toward the window and catch Ethan's eye. He stands across the street watching the house. Our gazes lock, and I give an almost imperceptible nod. "Actually, I think I will try the juice." I lift the glass with trembling fingers, bringing it to my lips without drinking. The sweet grape scent fills my nostrils, childhood comfort weaponized against me. I set it down, mostly full. "Family doesn't do this to family," I whisper, more to myself than anyone else. Mom watches the glass with the focus of a scientist observing a critical experiment. "You've barely touched it. I thought grape was your favorite." Dad shifts closer. His hand moves toward my phone. I notice for the first time how his wedding ring catches the light, the same light that now reveals everything I never wanted to see. Under the table, my thumb slides across my phone screen, activating the recording app. The red dot pulses silently as I set the device on my lap, angled toward my parents. "Don't look so nervous, Richard." Mom whispers to Dad, not realizing I've moved the phone. "We're just taking enough to cover Amanda's losses. She'll never even notice if we're careful." Dad's reply comes through crystal clear on the recording. 14,000 is nothing compared to what she has sitting there. That promotion last year almost doubled her salary. My stomach turns sour. Their voices sound foreign, like strangers discussing a bank heist rather than parents talking about their daughter's hard-earned savings. "I need some air," I announce, rising from the table with my phone clutched tight. Mom's smile tightens at the corners. "Don't wander off, sweetheart. Dessert is almost ready." Outside, Ethan stands beneath the maple tree where we used to hang a tire swing. He motions me over, phone already extended. You need to see this. The screen displays Amanda's text to him from earlier today. Stay away from the house tonight. Family business happening. I'll call you tomorrow. When was this sent? My voice sounds hollow even to my own ears. 4:36 this afternoon. Ethan's efficiency is almost jarring. While I stand frozen, he methodically documents everything, taking photos of the house, saving screenshots of Amanda's suspicious texts. We should get a sample of that juice. Dad's voice cuts through the evening air. Freya, who are you talking to out there? Your mother went to a lot of trouble for this dinner. The tension in his tone raises goosebumps on my arms. I touch my lips where the sickly sweet grape juice residue lingers. The flavor that once represented childhood comfort now tastes like betrayal. Back in the dining room, decades of family photos stare down from the walls. The Bless This Home cross-stitch mom finished last Christmas hangs crooked above the china cabinet. Everything looks the same, yet nothing island. I walk to the head of the table, deliberately lift the glass of juice and tip it sideways. Purple liquid spreads across the cream-colored carpet like spilled blood. Freya, what on earth? Mom jumps up, napkin in hand. I recorded you. My voice doesn't waver as I hold up my phone. Both of you, discussing how to take my money. The transformation is immediate. Concern vanishes from their faces, replaced by rigid defensiveness. Dad's jaw tightens, and Mom's hand still over the spreading stain. You're being ridiculous, Dad says. We were talking about helping you manage your finances. You've never been good with money. A daughter should want to help her family, Mom adds, voice hardening. You've always had more than you needed anyway. The words strike like physical blows. Here it is, the resentment that's apparently been simmering beneath maternal smiles and Sunday dinners. The front door opens without a knock. Ethan stands there, car keys dangling from his fingers. I think you've seen enough, Freya. Amanda rises from her seat. You brought him into family business? How could you? Family business? I laugh, the sound brittle. Is that what you call drugging me to steal my savings? Dad lunges toward me. Give me that phone right now. Ethan steps between us. That's not happening. We leave amid a storm of accusations, threats, and Mom's theatrical tears. In Ethan's car, my phone buzzes with banking alerts, 4 login attempts from Amanda's iPad within the last hour. My God, I whisper, scrolling through the notifications. She's been trying to access my accounts while I was sitting right there with them. This isn't about Amanda's crypto losses, Ethan says, pulling away from the curb. They've been talking about getting access to your accounts for months. I've overheard them planning when Amanda thought I was asleep. A new realization hits me. My grandmother lives with them, if they're this desperate for money. She could be next, Ethan finishes, or already a victim. My phone lights up with a text from Amanda. You're betraying your family. Mom is crying because of you. Families stick together no matter what. I realize with sickening clarity that they still have my spare house key. They know when I leave for work, when I go to the gym, every detail of my daily routine. What do I do now? The question feels enormous. Should I confront them privately? Try for reconciliation? Even as I say it, the words sound hollow. Ethan keeps his eyes on the road. Freya, these aren't just hurt feelings we're talking about. They were willing to drug you. His matter-of-fact tone cuts through my lifelong programming. Family loyalty versus self-protection. Blood ties versus personal safety. Standing in that moment, my whole life's understanding of family shattered around me. Would you choose justice against those who raised you, or give them one more chance to explain the inexplicable? A day later, my phone buzzes for the 17th time since morning. Another childhood friend asking if I'm doing okay mentally. The notification joins the growing crowd, each one a small hammer against my temple. Your father just posted again, Ethan says, scrolling through his own phone while pacing my living room. He came to ensure a proper strategy for the future plan. They're really doubling down on the mental breakdown angle. I open Facebook despite knowing better. There it is, Dad's post, complete with a candid photo of me from last Christmas looking tired after a 14-hour workday. The caption reads, "Please keep our daughter Freya in your prayers. She's making concerning accusations and refusing family support during this difficult time." 43 sympathetic comments, 17 shares. My aunt in Florida suggesting a wellness retreat she saw on Dr. Phil. They're getting ahead of the story, I whisper. fingers hovering over the keyboard before dropping away. What could I possibly say? Ethan takes my phone gently. You don't need to read this. Let me set up call forwarding to my secondary line. The important people know how to reach you. We draft a single response, just enough dignity without details. I appreciate everyone's concern. This is a private family matter I'm handling appropriately. Please respect my space during this time. 3 hours later, Amanda appears at my office door, eyes red-rimmed, clutching tissues. Several coworkers glance our way with concerned expressions. Freya, please, she sobs, collapsing into the chair beside my desk. They made me do it. I didn't want to hurt you. While she talks, her hand inches toward my keyboard. My unlocked computer screen displays sensitive project documentation and my personal email in another tab. I shut the laptop just as her fingers brush the edge. Her tears vanish instantly. You've always been so paranoid, she hisses, standing. Family helps family, that's how it works. When I get home that night, a credit alert waits in my inbox. Someone has applied for a Capital One venture card in my name. The application lists my parents' address. It's not the first one, Ethan says grimly, spreading printouts across my kitchen table. I ran a full credit check. There are 4 cards in your name going back 3 years. Balance just over $23,000. The room tilts slightly. But my credit score? They've been making minimum payments, keeping everything just under the radar. Classic identity theft pattern. My phone rings with an unfamiliar number. The voice on the other end belongs to Martin Grayson, my father's golf buddy and family attorney for 20 years. Freya, dear, I'm calling as a friend, he says, voice dripping with rehearsed concern. There are certain family matters that might become quite embarrassing if made public. Your parents only want what's best. I hang up, hands trembling so badly I drop the phone. That night sleep refuses to come. Every car passing outside my bedroom window might be them. Every notification could mean another attack. I stare at the ceiling until red numbers on my clock read 4:17 a.m. The next day, I miss the project deadline I've been working toward for months. My team leader's disappointment feels distant, underwater, as I stare at my screen, unable to focus on a single line of code. Ethan arrives at 6 with grocery bags. You need protein, he announces, unpacking containers of grilled chicken and roasted vegetables. And I installed cameras at all entry points. Motion detection, night vision, alerts straight to both our phones. He unfolds a large paper on the dining table, a timeline stretching back to my 16th birthday. I've documented everything. Each loan they requested, every account opened, the pattern of family visits coinciding with missing financial documents. My eyes burn from exhaustion as I scan the meticulous record of my family's betrayal. Later, we step onto my small balcony as the sun sets, painting the sky copper. Ethan pulls something from his pocket, a yellowed recipe card in my grandmother's handwriting. Her apple pie, I whisper, fingers tracing the familiar cursive. I grabbed it when I went back for your backup hard drive. He places it gently in my palm. Not everything they gave you was bad. The scent of cinnamon seems to rise from the card itself. My lips curve in what feels like my first genuine smile in days. The weekend brings another ambush. My parents' SUV pulls into my apartment complex parking lot with Pastor Mike from their church beside them, their neutral mediator, as my father calls him. We just want to talk, honey, Mom says, reaching for my arm. I step back. Years of swallowed words suddenly rise in my throat. You didn't just try to steal my money, I say, voice carrying across the quiet evening air. You tried to steal my dignity, my trust, my entire understanding of what family means. Mom's face hardens. A daughter owes her parents after everything we sacrificed for you. Family is earned through love, Ethan says quietly from behind me, not owed through obligation. Pastor Mike's expression shifts as I walk him through everything, the drug juice, the credit cards, Amanda at my workplace. When I play the dinner recording from my phone, Dad's face drains of color. Richard, the pastor whispers, stepping back. Margaret, what have you done? Dad stammers about misunderstandings and family loyalty, but his words scatter like ashes in the wind. The next morning brings an unexpected ally. Detective Sarah Reynolds sits across from me at the police station, her focus sharpening when I mention Grandma Rose. The patterns you're describing? she says, reviewing my documentation, often extend to elder financial abuse. Is your grandmother still living with your parents? A chill runs through me as pieces click into place. Dad's insistence on managing Grandma's retirement accounts, the missing jewelry she couldn't locate last Christmas. My company's employee assistance program connects me with William Barrett, an attorney specializing in identity theft and family financial abuse. You're not alone in this, he tells me, reviewing Ethan's timeline, and you've documented the pattern better than most. That night, Ethan and I sit at my kitchen table with coffee growing cold between us. We map out protective measures on legal yellow pads, account security protocols, communication boundaries, legal next steps. Your work in banking security software gives us an advantage, Ethan says, tapping my resume. You know exactly how to document digital financial crimes in ways that will stand up in court. For the first time since that glass of grape juice appeared before me, I feel something solid beneath my feet. Not safety, not yet, but the framework for it, taking shape hour by hour. 2 days later, the keyboard clicks beneath my fingers as I input my new 26-character passphrase. My heart still jumps at every notification, but now each alert represents another security measure activated rather than another breach attempted. That's the 7th account secured today, I tell Ethan, who sits across my dining table with 3 laptops open before him. Banking, retirement, investment portfolio, credit cards, all with new biometric verification. Ethan nods without looking up, his military-precise fingers organizing files into a digital evidence vault. And I've time-stamped all the login attempts from the last 6 months. Every single one lines up with your family visits. Christmas Eve, your birthday dinner, even that random Tuesday when your mom just happened to stop by with cookies. Which means it wasn't opportunistic, I say, my throat tightening. They were planning this for months. Years, more likely. He turns one of the screens toward me. I found attempts dating back 18 months. They just got more frequent recently. My phone buzzes with an incoming call from William Barrett. I put him on speaker. Good news, Freya. The attorney's voice fills my apartment living room. All 3 credit bureaus have removed the fraudulent accounts from your record. Your score should rebound within 30 days. A weight lifts from my chest, not completely, but enough that I take my first deep breath in weeks. And the accounts? Transferred to the primary applicants, your parents and sister. They're responsible for every penny now. The victory feels hollow but necessary, like removing a splinter, painful but essential for healing. Later that afternoon, my boss calls about a promotion opportunity in Seattle. 6 months ago, I would have declined out of family obligation. Today, I surprise myself. I appreciate the offer, but I'd prefer to stay local and expand my responsibilities in security implementation instead. The words flow with unexpected confidence. I have expertise I believe would benefit the company's new authentication protocols. When I hang up, Ethan gives me a knowing look. Wouldn't have pegged you for turning down a promotion. It's not turning it down, it's choosing something else. Something that builds on what this nightmare has taught me. My cousin Mariana calls the next evening. Did you know your parents are trying to sell Grandma's wedding ring and the family Bible with all the birth records? My stomach drops. Those were promised to me. That's what Uncle Thomas said. He refused to buy them even though they offered a family discount. Her voice lowers. Freya, they seem desperate for cash. What's going on? I give her the sanitized version, but it's enough. Word spreads through the family grapevine faster than I anticipated. I warned you they'd use sentiment next, Ethan says when I tell him. Family heirlooms are powerful leverage. How did you know? He shrugs, touching his bare left wrist where his military watch used to be. Exploitation follows patterns. First money, then belongings, then memories. 3 days later, Grandmother Rose calls from a taxi. I need your help, dear. I've made a decision. We meet at First National Bank, where she transfers her remaining jewelry, including her mother's pearls and grandfather's pocket watch, to a safety deposit box with my name alongside hers. I see clearer than they think, she whispers, her papery hand trembling against mine. That night, alone with my thoughts, the hardest question surfaces. Do I press criminal charges against my own parents? The evidence would support it: attempted drugging, identity theft, fraud. Detective Reynolds has said as much, but a public trial would mean exposing everything, possibly sending them to jail. Is removing myself from their reach enough punishment for a lifetime of manipulation? The answer doesn't come easily. 2 days later, Detective Sarah Reynolds delivers a thick folder to my apartment. "My investigation is complete," she says, sliding it across my coffee table. "This documentation supports criminal charges on multiple counts. The decision is yours, but cases like this rarely resolve without formal intervention." The support extends beyond official channels. Cousin Mariana introduces me to her friend who experienced similar exploitation from her brother. My father's sister calls to share how he borrowed money throughout their childhood and never repaid it. My mother's college roommate reveals decades-old stories of borrowed textbooks sold for cash. Everything you suspected for years but dismissed as normal family dynamics, it was all real, Ethan affirms as he helps me prepare the cease and desist letters. "You weren't crazy. You weren't overreacting. Your instincts were right." The letters are delivered on a Tuesday morning. I insist on handling it personally, needing to see their faces when their manipulation meets its first real consequence. My father's angry flush spreads from his neck to his hairline. My mother's tears start immediately, right on cue. Amanda stands speechless for once, her usual eye-rolling replaced by genuine shock. I maintain perfect composure throughout, my voice steady as I explain the legal implications of any further contact. I leave without looking back, though the image of their house smaller somehow, diminished, stays with me. Amanda's voicemails begin that night, growing more desperate with each call. "The bank is foreclosing. Dad's borrowing from his 401 Kelvins. Mom can't stop crying. Please, Freya, we're family." I save each message as evidence without returning them. A week later, Grandmother Rose asks the question I've been hoping for. "Would you consider having me stay with you for a while, just until I figure out my next steps?" The flash of hope this brings is interrupted by my phone's harsh buzz at 2:17 a.m. The security app shows movement at my front door. The night vision camera reveals my father attempting to use his old spare key, his features distorted with concentration, while my mother and sister wait in the car at the curb, engine running. My thumb hovers over the emergency call button. The police cruiser's red and blue lights bounce off the brick exterior of my apartment building. 2 officers stand between me and my family, who hover near their car with empty suitcases. My father keeps his chin high, maintaining the dignified posture he perfected at church functions and neighborhood barbecues. "We only came to talk to our daughter," he explains, voice steady despite being caught at 2:17 a.m. "We've been trying to reach her." "With empty luggage?" Officer Rodriguez glances at the suitcases. Suddenly, Mom crumples to the ground, her hand pressed dramatically to her chest. "Please," she gasps, looking up at me with wet eyes. "We came because your father has cancer. Stage 4. We didn't want to tell you over the phone." My stomach drops for a fraction of a second before I notice Dad's eyes darting to the side, his tell when lying. Beside me, Ethan makes a quick call, stepping away briefly before returning. Their family doctor confirms there is no cancer diagnosis, he says quietly. He also mentioned 3 previous medical emergencies they've used to manipulate family members. "Even if it were true," I say, my voice steadier than I thought possible. "Using illness to manipulate me would only prove how right I am to keep this distance." The words feel strange in my mouth, not cruel but firm, final. Officer Rodriguez writes something in her notepad. "We'll need statements from everyone." At the police station, fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across the interview room table. I place my evidence folder, meticulously organized by Ethan, in front of Detective Reynolds. She reviews the recorded drugging attempt, identity theft documentation, and security footage from tonight with increasing concern. "Your parents accessed your accounts how many times?" she asks, looking up from a bank statement. 17 attempts in the past month alone," I answer, "but it started years ago with my childhood piggy bank." Ethan sits straight-backed beside me. I overheard explicit conversations about accessing her accounts. Amanda told me they planned to use Freya's fingerprint while she was incapacitated. Through the window, I watch my father in another room, his face red as he jabs his finger at Officer Rodriguez. The soundproof glass muffles his words, but his expression speaks volumes. The mask of the respected family patriarch slips completely when he slams his palm against the table, revealing the volatile temper I'd normalized throughout childhood. The interview room door opens. Grandmother Rose stands in the doorway, her silver hair neat despite the late hour. She crosses to my side, placing a small, warm hand on my shoulder. "I believe you," she says simply. 3 words I've waited a lifetime to hear. The next morning, I stand in my childhood bedroom, cardboard box in hand. 2 officers wait in the hallway while I pack photographs, journals, and keepsakes that rightfully belong to me. Sunlight streams through curtains my mother sewed when I was 12, illuminating dust motes that dance around me as I work. In the living room, Dad sits slumped in his recliner. He seems physically smaller somehow, shoulders hunched beneath his sweater. Mom's hands twist nervously in her lap, the wedding ring Dad bought her after his first big promotion catching the light. The home that once seemed so imposing now feels like a dollhouse miniature and artificial. Detective Reynolds stands by the front door, official papers in hand. Richard and Margaret Rivera. These are charges of attempted drugging with intent to commit fraud, identity theft, and criminal trespass. Her voice is professionally neutral, but her eyes hold steady compassion when they meet mine. I carefully pack grandmother's hand-stitched quilt, made the year I was born. My high school diploma, the snow globe from our only family vacation to Washington, D.C. Each item represents a memory I'm reclaiming, redefining. "You can't take those," Mom says weakly when I carefully wrap the porcelain figurines grandmother gave me for my 16th birthday. "They're family heirlooms." "Yes, she can," grandmother says from the doorway. "I gave them to Freya, not to the house." I maintain perfect composure throughout the process, thanking the officers, signing the necessary forms, carrying boxes to my car with methodical precision. It's only when I'm safely inside my vehicle, windows rolled up tight, that I finally allow the tears to come. They fall silently as I grip the steering wheel, my shoulders shaking with each breath. The familiar scent of Mom's potpourri clings to the packed items beside me, once comforting but now cloying and suffocating. I roll down the windows, letting fresh air sweep through the car as I drive away from the house where my exploitation began. 3 weeks later, my parents accept a plea deal. 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, significant fines, and full financial restitution for the fraudulent accounts opened in my name. I watch from the back of the courtroom as they sign the papers, refusing to meet my eyes. That evening, my phone lights up with a text from Amanda. "I'm starting therapy next week. Maybe someday when I've figured some things out, we could talk? I miss you." I set the phone aside without responding. In the guest room, Grandmother Rose arranges her favorite books on the nightstand while I hang family photographs, the real ones, not the performative portraits my parents preferred. Together, we transform the space with treasures that hold genuine memories, creating a new, honest version of family one item at a time. "It feels like home already," Rose says, smoothing the quilt across the bed. For the first time in months, I smile without reservation. Yes, I agree. It finally does. The scent of roasting turkey fills my apartment as Grandmother Rose arranges chrysanthemums in a crystal vase that once belonged to her mother. Through the kitchen archway, I watch my colleagues from Tech Guard laughing with my neighbors while Ethan checks the marshmallow topping on the sweet potato casserole. 1 year since that glass of grape juice changed everything, and my dining table holds more genuine warmth than 2 decades of family dinners ever managed. "You've created something beautiful here," Grandmother Rose says, adjusting her glasses to survey the gathered guests. I squeeze her hand. We created it together. Across the room, Ethan catches my eye and smiles. No longer Amanda's boyfriend, but my closest friend, he's the unexpected gift from the wreckage of my family ties. Last month, he helped me launch financial literacy workshops at the community center, where I transform my experience into protection for others. The participants call me the Family Bank Whisperer, a title that once would have stung but now feels like reclaimed power. My phone buzzes against the counter. Unknown number. My heart stutters for just a breath before the old panic dissolves into calm assessment. I scan the text, another manipulative plea from Amanda, and block the number without breaking my conversation with Rose. "You used to jump at every notification?" Ethan observes quietly when he joins us with fresh coffee. "Now you decide what deserves your attention. That's real freedom." He's right. The text that would have sent me spiraling into anxiety months ago barely registers now. The invisible chains my family forged link by link throughout my childhood have rusted away, leaving only the occasional phantom weight. Later, autumn sunlight warms my balcony as Ethan and I settle into comfortable silence over coffee. Beyond the railing, the Columbus skyline stands clear against a perfect blue November sky. Something about the peaceful moment finally loosens words I've struggled to find. "You saved more than my savings," I tell him, watching steam curl from my mug. "You saved my sense of reality when they were trying to distort it." Ethan looks up, surprised. "You would have figured it out eventually." "Maybe, but not before drinking that juice." The memory no longer carries the sting it once did. Who knew my sister's boyfriend would become the person who taught me what family actually means? The following morning, Rose joins me in unpacking the delivery of small terracotta pots and seed packets that arrived yesterday. We arrange them along the balcony railing. A publisher emailed about my journal entries. I mention casually, pressing rosemary seeds into damp soil. They think it could help others recognize family financial abuse. Rose nods thoughtfully. "You should do it. The family you're born into is your first experience of love," I say, "but not necessarily your best one." I gesture toward the apartment where yesterday's gathering happened, then to the newly planted seeds. "Sometimes you have to grow your own." Rose pats my hand, soil caught under her nails, just as it was when she taught me to garden as a child. Those memories remain untainted, precious islands of genuine connection. As we work, I wonder about the people who might someday read my story. When does family loyalty reach its limit? I drew my line at deliberate harm. Would you have drawn yours sooner, or given them one more chance after the unforgivable? Rose doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she gently covers the planted seeds with a thin layer of soil, protecting their potential while giving them room to grow toward light.